And hello there, welcome to yet another super workshop in the Gutsy Women Finances community. Today we're going to talk about how much cash you should have. Before I begin, here's the big note. These presentations are live, but I give you the recording of the presentation only. I do that for three reasons. One is I want you to feel comfortable talking about your situation, your money needs, at our live sessions, and I want those to be confidential conversations, so I don't record those. Secondly is I'm on the road. I got technology glitches here and there, so this way I give you a nice clean presentation, no glitches. Third thing is, hey, I know you're in a hurry, your time is valued. Maybe you're speeding this up 2 times. You want the information, you want it now, no distractions, no chatter. This gets you to that information right away. Let's start with how much cash you should have. I'm using a very broad term of what I mean by cash. It's paper money, so yeah, it's your $20 bill, your $50 bill. It's also money that's in a savings account and to some extent CDs. It's money that you can get to fast. I have a little lock on CDs because you've got to keep money in a certificate of deposit for a set amount of time, maybe 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and there's often a penalty to withdraw it early. So that's why there's a lock on CDs. All right, let's get right to it. Your three big money needs where you might need the cash right away. I'm all about avoiding credit card debt. I don't want you to end up with a $20,000 credit card debt because you used it to pay expenses when you lost your job. That just stinks. Okay, so we're talking about the money you need, the cash that you need to have on hand to handle an emergency, to handle health care, especially the health care deductible, and especially lost wages. What happens if you lose your job? Now, there are lots and lots of different scenarios that we can run through. And losing a job, if you've got two good incomes, you can manage. But I'm going to assume that, you're the primary earner in your family. You might be the solo person. You've got to pay those expenses. It's all on you. So this is pretty serious when you lose your job. It is very serious. Okay, let's get to talking about each of those things. An emergency fund, car breaks down, pet needs to go to the emergency vet, something always comes up. And hey, if I take my car in and it's less than $1,000, I'm like, okay. But $1,000 is generally a pretty okay amount to put in an emergency fund. You might be more comfortable with 2,000. Don't put a whole lot in here, but definitely think about money you can get to when there is an emergency, at least $1,000. I want you to write down how much money you've got in your emergency fund. And yes, the PDF will be available for you, so you can use that. But I always recommend, hey, when you're in one of my workshops, bring out a notepad, bring out a pen, and take notes. And then later on, you can download the PDF and look through everything, make sure you've done it right, scribble all over the PDF. So think right now about, how much you've got in an emergency fund. Write it down. Healthcare. Do you have enough to pay the deductible? And don't walk away. Don't say, oh, I don't know what my deductible is. And I don't want to lose you this early, okay? So let's give you some information. Now, healthcare is all over the board. If you're working for a really good company, your deductible might be real low. Other companies, smaller companies in particular, end up using the same type of things that we find in healthcare.gov. I cover my own insurance. I'm at healthcare.gov. So every year there are new numbers. This is for 2022. So before if you're looking into 2023 or look at those numbers. But the high deductible plans, according to healthcare.gov, it is at least $1,400 for an individual and $2,800 for a family. What does that mean? Yeah, you're paying all those premiums. I know it hurts. Health insurance in the United States is, the healthcare system is broken. I know it. I can do a whole workshop, a day-long workshop on that. But let's focus on what we need to know for today, for right now. The deductible means, yeah, you're paying all those premiums and you get some preventative care measures included in that. But anything beyond that, you've got to pay out first before the insurance kicks in. You got to pay out at least $1,400. Then the insurance kicks in. If you're a family, it's $2,800. Then the insurance kicks in. Now, all of these plans also come out with a cap. Now, bankruptcy in the United States, the number one cause of bankruptcy it's medical expenses. So these programs, this insurance caps it. That's $7,050 for individuals, $14,100 for a family. So that's the most you would have to pay for out of pocket in a year. I don't recommend having that type of money sitting around. And if you're relatively healthy, it's nice to have that $1,400 just to cover you for the year. The best way to do that, if you have a high deductible plan, if you don't know, through your employer, ask your HR office. They should be able to tell you just like that and get you set up with a health savings account, because you will have access to one. You got a high deductible plan, you can put money away into a health savings account. Typically an employer, you can say, hey, I want so much out of every paycheck to go into that. It's done, it's taken care of, it's off the top of your paycheck. You don't have to think about it. You can put in as much as $3,650 for an individual, up to $7,300 a year for family coverage. It rolls over from year to year. It has absolutely wonderful tax advantages. Now, you got to be careful how you use it. It's not there for buying a new car. It is there for health-related expenses. So those are things that you should take advantage of. Individual, I do recommend, you got $1,400 to cover what you're going to end up before the for the deductible, or a family, $2,800. Okay, biggie. What if you lose your job? Been there, done that. What if you lose your job? And again, if you've got two good incomes and you've kept your expenses down, you might be able to manage okay. But if you're the primary wage earner, if you're a solo out there and everything is dependent on your job, you got to really work this baby out. Let's talk about this. Okay. Losing your job and getting a new job is really dependent on the work you do. So if you're in retail, tons of retail jobs. If you specialize in some high level thing that there's just, the job market is really small, and you probably have to move. I mean, it's going to take you a little bit longer to find that job. So it's really based on what your occupation is, what you plan to do in your next job. It's based on your job prospects, how much money you need. Biggie is expenses, my friend. Everything that we calculate from here on out is based on how much you're spending a month. You're a high spender, you got to save more. You can cut your expenses, you got to save less. It's really that simple. Let's do some math. We'll start with this question. How long is it going to take you to find a new job with a similar salary? And yeah, we'll start with 3, 6, 9, 12 months. We'll round it off. Maybe you think it's going to take you 5 months, but you want a month off to just relax and get through everything that you dealt with in the last job, and really sit down and come up with a plan for your money, for your future. You're going to give yourself 6 months. So again, this is highly preferential to you, and to how easy you think it's going to be to replace your job with a similar salary. Now, you can find a job. Yeah, I mean, jobs are easy to find, but maybe not at your similar salary. And this is also an opportunity where some people decide, it's worth it to cut their expenses and go into a different field that's less stressful, even though it makes less money. You've got all kinds of decisions in front of you. Stick to this one. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. I want you to write down how many months it's going to take you to find a new job with a similar salary. Okay, we're going to go to your monthly expenses, and you don't have to get out your budget right now. You don't have to, compile everything. I just want this, off the top of your head. And this background is a palatial staircase in some fancy place. What are your monthly expenses now? Maybe you're paying for a housekeeper to come in every week and take care of things. Maybe you're paying for a gardener to come in. You've got all these expenses. Just go ahead and look at what your average monthly expenses are right now. You don't make any changes. What are they? Write it down. So if you just lost your job, maybe you got to let the gardener go. Maybe you got to start cleaning your own house. I want you to think about your core expenses. If you get rid of some of those things that are extravagant, maybe you don't have to dine out at the country club. Maybe you don't have to go out to eat at fancy restaurants 3 times a week. Okay, think about what you can trim to get your expenses down. And for some people, this is even, look at your subscriptions. What are you paying for on a monthly basis that you don't use, or that it just feels like a waste of money? Get down to the core. You got to pay your mortgage. You gotta pay car loans. You gotta eat. You gotta buy groceries. The big 3: your housing, your transportation, and your food. But you can get your groceries and make your own food. That's still a big cost saver to restaurants. Maybe you got a 2 cars or 3 cars and you really don't use one. Maybe that's the time to sell one. So think about your core expenses. And this may take you some time to actually go back and look at everything that you paid for last month and put a little checkbox on the things that you could cut out. How would you cut it out? What would that core expenses be? Because that's the number we're going to use. Because you lost your job. Okay, you got to start making some sacrifices to get your money to go longer. All right, how much do you need? You need the emergency fund. Recommend 1,000. You need a health fund, preferably in a health savings account. I recommend save up the deductible. Job loss fund is the big one. Your core monthly expenses, the one without the gardener and the housekeeper, times how long you think it's going to take you to find a suitable replacement job. That's your job loss fund. You're going to add those 3 up, you get the total. Now, if you're like me, like a lot of people, it's like, oh, I don't like math. I really don't like this part, Dr. Brenda. Hey, come on. Let's use an example. I look at this woman. I'm going to call her Gloria. So let's look at Gloria's numbers. She needs $1,000 in an emergency fund. She is solo, so she's got a deductible of $1,400. She's saving that up in a health savings account. Job loss fund. For her, she's living in a medium cost of living area. She's taken out all of the things that are not a necessity. She figures, $2,500. That's a pretty decent amount for me. It allows me to pay my mortgage or pay my rent and cover my basic expenses. And it's probably going to take me 4 to 5 months. I'm going to use 6 months because maybe I want to take a month off and do something to relax. Maybe it's going to take me longer than I thought. So Gloria is going to use 6 months. Her job loss fund, we're just going to multiply those 2 together. Her job loss fund is $15,000. Total $17,400. And this is the part where it's like you're thinking, oh man, I can't save that much up. Or maybe like, okay, this makes sense. I'm going to do it. I can do this. Hold on, just wait a minute. So it's going to be worth the wait. I'm going to complicate things a little bit. I love to keep things simple, but this is one instance where I'm going to complicate it for you, and you're going to like this complication. Okay, your job ends tomorrow. How much money would you receive from any accumulated vacation or sick leave? Now, again, check with HR or whomever. I mean, we used to have what was called all-purpose leave. It was rolled up into one pot, and I knew how much we could accumulate, and I knew how much I had to get down by the end of the year to, I basically had to take vacation to use those extra days. So you might be the type of person that, oh, I got 3 days of vacation, I'm taking them off next week. Or you might be the kind of person that's like, you know what, I'm going to save up I'm going to take 2 weeks off, but I'm going to save up. I'm going to save up over time, and I'm not going to use all my vacation leave, all my sick leave by the end of the year. And if you're healthy, you can really, having that extra sick leave, and if you get paid for it, that's big. So I want you to find out how many vacation or sick days you have stored up, days that you would be paid for if your job ended. I know you got that piece of paper and pen out, right? How many days? Okay, if you're not sure, just give me an estimate. You can go into HR tomorrow. You look through find out how many days. Now, the big question, I did tell you I was going to complicate things. The value of those days. What are those days worth? Now, if you get paid hourly, and you're expected to work 8 hours a day, your hourly wage by 8 hours, that's your daily rate. But a lot of us got paid with a salary, and it's a little bit more difficult to figure out. This is the way I estimated it, and quite honestly, it came out pretty close. It's not exact because you've got different things going on with your paychecks. But take your annual salary, divide it by 260. That's generally how many work days you have. It takes out holidays. It takes out weekends. It might be a little different for your company. And that will give you an estimate of your daily pay rate. You can also ask HR. I will tell you, they might want to say, what do you want to know that for? I don't know. I don't know what your daily rate is. And you say, well, Dr. Brenda said, I'm trying to figure out how much cash I need, and this, I'd be paid for that. So I'm trying to figure out the value of my accumulated leave. And they might not know what you're talking about. Hey, send them over to Gutsy Women Finances. We'll straighten them out. But anyway, if everybody's confused, just take your salary, divide by 260. That gives you an estimate. Just going to multiply those two numbers together. Did I lose you? I'm going to slow down a bit. I'm going to bring Gloria back. Okay. Gloria is really good at giving us a picture of how this really works in real life. I love putting actual numbers here so you can see what's happening. Gloria has 15 days stored up. If she lost her job tomorrow, she's going to be paid for 15 days. She figures, okay, the value of my days, I get about $288.46 each day. She figured that out by taking her salary, which was $75,000, and dividing by that 260. And again, rough estimate here, folks, but that's just remember, it is an estimate. She multiplied 15 times $288.46. The value of her accumulated leave is $4,327. Now, clearly, if you have more than 15 days, the value increases. If you're making more than $75,000, that increases. Less, your value is less, right? So I actually I could accumulate, and this was pretty generous, 11.2 weeks. Okay, 11.2 weeks. That is a lot of days. And when I got that payout check, my mortgage was paid off. I could be frugal. And I thought, well, maybe it's going to last me. I did my calculations. I think it'll last me 6 months, 9 months. I'm building a business. Kind of depends on that. I'll tell you what, that leave lasted me for about a year. Okay, so don't underestimate the value of this. And I don't want you to just like, oh, I'm not going to take any vacations this year because you're going to get burned out. I want you to be smart about it. If you're at your company for any period of time, all of that stuff accumulates. Start accumulating that leave. It gives you a little bit more freedom. You lose your job or you decide you're done with that job, you get that money back. Don't forget that. You get that money back. You get your leave back in dollars. Okay, so we get to subtract that. So we have, again, look at the PDF. You can write your numbers in here. You got your emergency fund, your health fund, preferably in an HSA, job loss fund. Now you get to subtract the payout of your leave. There's the total. Okay, Gloria's coming back. Gloria's going to show you how this works. She needs an emergency fund of $1,000. She chose to have a health fund of $1,400 in her health savings account. Job loss fund was $15,000, but she's going to get paid over $4,300. We can subtract that. And the total comes down to $13,073. So we went from over $17,000 to just over $13,000. Okay, $4,300 difference. Big deal. So that's why I wanted you to wait. That's why I wanted to complicate this for you. I want you to have a real good sense of how much money you need if your job disappears. And again, you're going to need less if you're part of a dual income family and your job is not the main wage earner there. If it's okay, but this is a really good way to go. Really, really good. Now, I don't know how you're feeling. Like, oh, it still is way too much, or I can do this. I know you can do this. And I've got all kinds of resources in Gutsy Women Finances community to help you save that money. I want to talk about where to keep it, because you don't want $13,000, $15,000, $17,000 in bills hidden around your house, do you? Absolutely not. You do not want all of that money in paper money. I want you to also keep it simple. One of the things that I've seen in my coaching business is people open up accounts and then they forget they have accounts. So, oh, wow, the interest rate of this is 3% and they're only paying 2.5%. I'm going to open this one. Well, okay, it's not worth all of those different accounts chasing after a little bit of a higher interest rate. And so keep it simple. Also look at where you're already banking and see what kinds of things they offer. That's sometimes very easy to do. I'm going to talk about online options in a bit, but keep it simple. Always remember that. Keep it simple. And again, this is back to our first slide. You got the cash money. I know I can go to my ATM and get $300 out. I tend to have $300 to $500 securely stored away, and I've chosen that amount partly because I do use cash for my dining out. I put myself on a very usually strict, it's $100 a month dining out budget. So part of it is I want the cash for that because it helps cut down my credit card expense. But I've also been in emergencies, weather incidents where the power is out. You can't use your credit card when the power is out, but you can still use cash. Also, I am an RVer, and sometimes I'll get folks who want to come over, and they if I pay them cash, I'll get a better deal on having them fix something or having them clean the RV. So my amount of cash might be greater than what you need. I do always recommend having some cash on hand, especially to cover those power outages, those unexpected things that come up. But not too much. Most of your money should be sitting in a savings account. I also have, again, the CDs as an option for you, and let's talk about each of those and how you might find the best rates. So bankrate.com, one place, it's got the best information out there. You got to be careful because some of these things are sponsored, so they're going to direct you to the sponsored links. But You can find out what's going on that particular day. You can find out what's happening in your zip code. You can find the rates. It is the place to go. And in the PDF downloadable, you should be able to click on this button and go there yourself. So we're going to start by looking at what they have in terms of high yield savings account. And this is what they've got for October 2022. So this is pretty basic. You're welcome to always skip through parts of this that you already know about. But if you want to pay attention and learn more about how to pick out some of the best things, and again, always look locally. But the first thing you're looking at is the APY. That's the annual percentage yield. Now, it's been really, really low the last several years. It's starting to click up a little bit, so it's not as bad as it once was. So you can look, it varies from 0.01% at Wells Fargo, and for a money market, whoa, that's like nothing, okay? And here's another example. And I just pulled out examples. I am not promoting any of this. I'm just sharing this so that you know how to analyze the data. Lending Club, 2.65, Quorum, 3%. So you can see how variable it is in terms of the APY. The next thing I'm going to look for is the minimum balance requirements. I'd love to get 3%. I don't know that I want to invest $10,000. Is it worth it? And here, I don't have to have a minimum balance. I can put in $100 and I'm good to go. So that's the second thing you're looking for. And then the third piece is I do pay attention to these stars, how many, the ratings. And of course, this is pretty poor rating. There's no way I'm going to choose this option. This is 4.9. This is 4.4. So I'm looking at those types of things to help me make a decision. That's what I would do. Okay, and you may be familiar with these, you may be unfamiliar with them. Go with your comfort level. It's not always, the best APY is not always the best deal for you. Okay, now I'm going to go to bankrate.com because I want you to look at CD rates, because I also talked about CDs and certificates of deposits. People will say, put it into a CD. Now remember, we're looking at short-term funds. CD isn't, it's not going to be helpful if you got to get funds out in 3 months. You got to have a nice savings account. But if you're looking for funds that you can access in 6 months, for instance, or a year, you could look at CDs. These rates, so these are all 6 months. It's really not great for short term. These rates are even less than what we just saw for some of the savings. And look at the minimum deposits, anywhere from $1,000 to $25,000 to get those rates. Now, there may be local options. Look at your credit union. Sometimes your credit union has some decent deals for you in both savings and CD rates. I really don't like the idea that you've got to lock this in. The only reason I see CDs as very helpful is based on your inclinations. I don't want you to pull this money out to go on a vacation. This is not vacation money. If your tendency is to raid your savings account, then a CD might be better for you, because a CD, it's going to cost you to raid it. It's going to lock in for a certain period of time, keep you from that temptation to pull funds out. It's the only reason that I could see you going the route of a CDs. Okay, but it is there. It is an option, and a lot of people will do CD ladders. So if you're looking for something to way to save up money for the next year, the next 3 years, it may be the way to go. But we're talking about the funds you need on hand. So not a great deal when you look at the numbers, but again, know your tendencies, know your temptations. Okay. Now, how do you get the money? How do you get that $17,000, that $13,000, that $20,000, whatever it is? head back into Gutsy Women Finances community. There's so many resources. And under the courses, you're going to look at the 30-day savings challenge. That's going to help you save $1,000 or more in 30 days. But go look through the tools, the resources, ways to cut your expenses. I believe I have another presentation on cutting your big three expenses. Go back, look at those pre-recorded presentations. There are many, many ways to get the money. Don't feel discouraged. If anything, feel encouraged. You got the information. You know about what your needs are. You know where you're going to put the money. And now you're going to figure out how to get that money. And it could be as easy as selling some stuff that you no longer use. It could be getting a side hustle to bring in some extra money just for that go-to emergency, that health fund, that job loss fund. Okay. So think about, again, this all comes down to wants and needs. Your comfort level is your comfort level. I'm going to tell you what. Some people are hoarding cash. Are you a cash hoarder? In the long run, you're losing money every year because inflation sucks it up. So that's not a wise decision. I know it may feel good to you right now, but it's not a wise decision. So maybe you want $100,000 in cash. Stop, pause. Does it make sense? That money would be better off going into some investments that have a long-term future. Think about what it is you actually need, how much money you need to get through a job loss emergency, to get through a different type of emergency. Really want you to think about your wants and needs, even when you're looking at your core expenses. You might have these expenses. How much of that is wants? Your core expenses really focuses on your needs. All comes down to wants and needs and your priorities. Okay. Hey, told you it is Overcome Investing Fears in Gutsy Women Finances. Our next workshop, October 19th, we're going to talk more about this time frame and how to make investing decisions based on your timeline. And I always welcome you into the Financial Freedom Academy. That will walk you through step by step, tons and tons of resources, how to reach financial freedom, up your game that way. All right, gave you lots of information. I know you probably thought, oh, this is going to be a 5-minute presentation. How much cash do I need? Dr. Brenda's going to say I need $5,000. Boom, we're done. No, now you have something personalized. You can run the numbers yourself. You can get the number that feels comfortable to you, that makes sense to you, that fits your circumstances. You got power, sister. Go with it. All right. Until the next workshop, I hope you have a fantastic night, a great week. Keep at it. Pursue financial freedom. It's well worth it. So long.